Folks, once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Fairly significant news day, particularly if you're on the right side of the aisle. Nikki Haley is literally running for her life up in New Hampshire. If she does not perform well in New Hampshire, most political analysts think that this would literally be a conclusion of the presidential campaign for Nikki Haley. But what do you think? Do you think Nikki Haley, state like New Hampshire, has a shadow of a chance against former President Trump? Now, obviously, we next go to her own home state of South Carolina. Once again, many are already suggesting that Trump is way out ahead of Nikki Haley in her own home state. Everyone of prominence in South Carolina has already endorsed Trump. The current governor, remember Nikki Haley used to be the former governor, the current governor of South Carolina, Tim Scott, a current senator, they're already endorsing President Trump. But we're going to be asking from a standpoint of unity. Does unity matter? That is what the program is titled today. Does unity, in regards to unity, we're talking about uniting the country. Does unity even matter? Because most polls, rather on the right or the left, suggest that Nikki Haley has a much better chance of defeating current President Joe Biden. The presidential race will be a hell of a lot more competitive if it comes down to a Biden-Trump rematch. And we all know Biden has already beat Trump in the past, so he absolutely has a chance of doing it again. Leading to the obvious question, why won't Republicans consider Nikki Haley if she has a better chance of defeating Trump? Is it about actually winning, or is it about getting Trump back in the White House? We're going to be asking those questions. But starting out, does unity even matter? Let's say it comes down to strengthening the economy or uniting the country. Do you put a strong economy above a united America? Let your boy know in the comments. We're going to go ahead and start the program off. You know, it is always MAGA friendly in its entirety, will always be, always has been. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. So free speech reigns supreme here. If you don't agree with the host, nobody gives a damn. Looking in the comments, tech, if you unite the country, you can make it stronger, says Lee Holmes. I agree with that. I do believe a united America would be a stronger country. But does unity even matter at this point? Is there anybody suggesting we unite and actually showing that they mean it amongst the presidential contenders? What say you? Going straight to the box, Don's Cond Colt 45 says purple crayon. Yikes, are you suggesting that Trump supporters are somehow in some sort of a cult? Wow. Going back to the box, we'll go straight to Ed. I believe that says it. If you want, you can block liberals, says Bam Bam 77. How do you block liberals? I'd like to know that. Chris, good afternoon.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Because T.I. asked this question to a rapper asked this question, Kid so you never answered. When you say make America great again, which period are you talking about? Which period?
I get asked that a million times. When folks suggest making America great again, obviously going back to a period in history, that phrase could mean a hell of a lot of different things to different people, such as two-parent households, perhaps Christianity in families, in schools. There's a whole, but when you say it to folks like myself, for instance, America's never really been great for folks that look like me. So it depends on what aspect of great is someone talking about. Depending on who you ask, you're not going to find many minorities that are going to look back in history and say, let's go back to that period. That's not going to happen. Hopefully that answers your question.
But do you know? You say you don't have an answer about which period you're talking about?
I just stated it depends on what about the past you consider great. I mean, there's a hell of a lot more rewards in terms of employment. Nowadays, you go get a job, the employer doesn't give a damn about you. Maybe that's part of the past somebody wants to go back to. You have to figure out what do they favor about America's past. Everyone has a different view of it.
I mean, I know. I'm gonna say like I know. For example, someone tried to say the 2000s. I said like, well, I don't think Trump was trying to replicate what happened in the 2000s. I don't think he likes the Bush administration. What happened at that time?
Yeah. Yeah, see, I can't put words in Trump's mind. I'm just simply saying in regards to your question, I don't believe there's a one size fits all type answer. I think everyone would answer that question differently.
Okay. I mean, another question to ask you. What causes crime?
What causes crime? Once again, there is no one size fits all question or answer. Could be opportunity. I mean, I would assume that if you went around with $100 bill hanging out of your pocket, somebody would commit theft against you. Poverty is another issue. Go keep going. What you say?
I think people don't realize that, like, and you're not gonna have a perfect world where there's gonna be like no crime. There's still gonna be crime,
Okay.
no matter what. I'm not gonna say like we can like maybe have less crime, but there's not gonna be like a chance for be zero crime. Like areas that are exactly what you said, poverty. Poverty is one of the reasons why there's crime. Of course, like anywhere. I mean, because of course there's a history with poverty in Black Americans because people don't realize that when it comes to schools, like how they're not funded by businesses. They're funded by property taxes,
Right.
and since a lot of Black areas and Hispanic areas don't receive enough funding, a lot of kids drop out, and then
Yeah, I will push back and say it's more than just poverty. Opportunity can commit crime, can lead to crime as well. If somebody thinks they can get away with something, they don't have to be disenfranchised. They don't have to be rich or poor. If a person sees something that they want and the opportunity presents itself and they think they can get away with it, they're likely to do it.
I mean, I get what you're saying. It's just like, look, because I get what you're saying. Like, of course, it's not just poverty. There's plenty of reasons for crime. I know, like, poverty is one of the reasons, but not, like, the biggest reason of
Right.
all of crime
Right.
and everything. I'm just saying it's like, where there's poverty, there's going to be crime in those areas. And
Well, let me make it clear also. It depends on what type of crime you're talking about as well.
I mean, yeah, I get it. It's like, for example, like homicides. Like, it can't be because of poverty. Like homicides, it depends what is. Most homicides happen at people's homes, not usually in the streets, because
Yeah.
like you can't.
A homicide could be catching your wife or your husband cheating on you. It could be catching somebody, doing something you don't like. I mean, there's a ton of reasons. When you say crime happens in every neighborhood. No matter how wealthy you are, how poor you are, there's crime in your neighborhood. So you're asking some questions that I don't believe have a one size fit all answer. Do you have any others?
I mean, not really. I mean, like for example, like how does like voting a president mean there's going to be less crime? Like that depends on the city and the state. You voting for a president does not mean there's going to be less crime.
Right.
Like even if I vote for Trump, that doesn't mean like there's going to be less crime is going to happen. Even like for a senator, that doesn't mean less crime. Maybe a governor, it could be a difference, but like it depends on the mayor of the city.
Well, I will say, certainly when it comes to the commander in chief, and make no mistake about it, Trump is running on, the fact that he believes crime is up under the Biden administration. I agree with you. The president is not going to be able to do anything about crime. At best, if a city has an underfunded police department, the president can potentially allocate federal funds to that city to hire more police officers. But in terms of, solving crime or bringing crime down, yeah, I don't know why presidents run on that. Trump is not going to bring down crime in Chicago or Baltimore somewhere. There's nothing he's going to do that.
But like when it comes to crime, most people keep saying like we need to fund the police, but like we have seen this countless times. Like funding the police does not mean there's going to be less crime. Like a lot of cities have voted to raise the budget of the police, but there's still crime going on. I mean, what do you expect? I mean, crime is crime. Like, people are still going to commit crime. And I know people are going to say, well, we need to have more officers. Maybe that could prevent crime. And I know people are going to be thinking, like, why would you commit a crime around police officers? But, like, I'm telling them, like, the police's job, they don't prevent crime. They don't prevent crime. You're not gonna see them like in neighborhoods all the time.
I gotta disagree with that. I do believe police can be a deterrent to crime. If you're casing a bank to rob and there's a police car parked in front of it, that bank ain't gonna get robbed. I do believe more police can have that effect. However, what has happened throughout history is more police has literally switched who the criminal is, such as stop and frisk. That's against the Fourth Amendment. So you put a bunch of police in an area, they brag that the crime is going down, but it's going down because you're violating folks' Fourth Amendment rights. So at the end of the day, the citizens are reducing their crimes and the police are now filling in with their own civil rights crimes. But I do believe more police can bring down crime.
I mean, I get what you mean with police. I'm about to say all police are bad and everything because
Nobody
like,
said
when it comes
that.
to crime, you don't see police like patrolling in wealthy neighborhoods because these areas barely have any crime. There's no crime. Like, what's the point of patrolling these neighborhoods if there's no crime? Maybe like in a lot of and predominantly black neighborhoods, we know like black neighborhoods tend to have higher crime rates because of course they have higher poverty rates in these areas. And you see police patrolling these areas, but like why they're still struggling with crime if police are patrolling these areas.
Well, a lot of times the police are in on it. I'll tell you right off the bat, I'm from the south side of Chicago. Even a 10-year-old knows where the drug houses are on the block. So there's no denying the cops know where they are too. Most drug dealers have at least one officer on the payroll. So in high crime areas, you find more corrupt cops. That's why it's still able to continue in urban areas, is that the cops are in on a lot of it.
I mean, I get what you mean. Sorry, can you explain one more time? I didn't get it. Sorry.
I said that in high crime areas, there are no shortage of police that are actually working in conjunction with the criminals. And if you're making tons of money selling drugs or doing anything else illegal, it's not hard to find cops to put on the payroll.
I get what you mean. Like, you're from Chicago?
Yeah.
Here's the thing with Chicago. It's a lot of conservatives have weaponized Chicago, saying it's like it's the most dangerous city in the world, in the United States, and everything. But people don't realize like Chicago nearly has 3 million people,
Yeah.
and when it comes to crime, like yes, it's bad when there's like a lot of homicides. I think I had like 400 plus homicides, but compare that to 3 million people in the city, because like it's such a big city, like area, like. You don't know which part. People say the South Side is so bad, but like I know plenty of people who live in the South Side have experienced crime. West Side, they say it's bad, but like,
all right, I'll go into detail, but I do got to move the program on, Chris. Listen, I always appreciate you coming on. I think this is our first time talking.
That's all. That's all I want to talk to you. Yeah, I can move on.
Absolutely. Appreciate you coming through. Now, in regards to what he was stating, Chicago literally being viewed as if it's Beirut. There's a reason why Chicago is often a whipping boy for its crime rate. Not to say that Chicago doesn't have a hell of a lot of crime, but in terms of American cities, Chicago's not even in the top 10. There's a lot more violent places you can go than Chicago. However, Chicago has had a Democratic government for a long time. The governor has been Democrat for a long time. So you got a Democrat governor, you got a Democrat mayor, year in, year out, and it has ties to the former president, Barack Obama. Not to mention, it has a history of tough gun laws. All of these things are falling in line with the Democratic Party. Who do you think criticizes Chicago most? Republicans. Now, we could point to a host of cities, Memphis, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, St. Louis, that have had the murder capital title and have had a lot of the same problems as Chicago, and you don't hear them mentioned in Republican circles. So it's not really that Chicago is Beirut. It's that Chicago is liberal, so it makes a perfect example to point to. Just want to point that out. Looking in the comments, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 15,000. We're asking, does unity even matter? Nikki Haley is in a fight for her life against Trump in New Hampshire. And many believe that if Nikki Haley was to somehow get the Republican nomination, which she will not, but if she did, she has a significantly better chance of beating Joe Biden as the president. But the right absolutely wants Trump. Is unity even important? Do you favor the economy over unity? Is this something that folks just simply do not care about? Looking in the comments, every city you mentioned is run by Democrats. Katie, I think the name is. That's true because diversity is frightened of the Republican Party. You're not going to name a big city that's ran by Republicans because so few are. Out of the top 50 cities, 9 of them have Republican mayors. Only 9 out of 50 have Republican mayors. So you can compare Republican cities to Democratic cities, and you'll notice one thing. Republican cities are considerably smaller and far less diverse. It's a lot easier to keep everybody in line when they all agree with each other, when they all look alike. Democrats have a tougher job in that, from that aspect. No matter how violent or how impoverished a Democratic city becomes, they don't seem to want to have shit to do with the Republican Party. Are we going to blame all that on the media? Seriously? So understand that. And if you have a violent city, Houston, Memphis, St. Louis, but the governor is Republican and the governor ran on dropping crime, why isn't the governor coming up in the conversation? Most of America's most violent cities are in red states. Why isn't that coming up in the conversation? Just want to point it out. Going back to the box, diversity doesn't seem to like the Republican Party. Continuing on, Country Hound Dog. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program, Hound Dog. Real quick, a better economy will unite the country. Possibly. However, there's no shortage of, how you going to say Country Hound Dog? Hold on. There's no shortage of people who believe the Trump economy was better than Biden's. Was America united under Trump? I tend to disagree that a good economy will unite the country. Country Hound Dog, good afternoon.
How's it going, Handsome? You doing good?
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there like Jesse Jackson at a Klan meeting. So let me ask you this. Do you think unity at this point, does unity even matter?
Yeah, unity does matter. And it's been proven time and time again whenever the U.S. has been, we can fight amongst ourselves, right? Just like siblings. We can fight with each other, but let somebody from the outside attack us. Okay, and we bond together. Let me ask you this, though.
Sure.
Talking about unity.
Right.
And as you can see by my picture, I'll even put my camera up if you want. I'm a white guy. Okay? I'm an American-bred mutt. I've got multiple different backgrounds in me. I'll say it.
Okay.
I'm an American-bred mutt. But I appear white. So who do you think would be accepted quicker and easier if you was walking through a conservative community up to a barbecue, or if I was walking through a ghetto and walked up to a barbecue? Who do you think would be taken in quicker and easier?
It's a good question. I think that you may face more resistance than me, but let me elaborate on that a little bit more. When it comes to dealing with racial resistance, for the most part, if a white person goes to a black neighborhood, their biggest problem is going to be the citizens, other black citizens not liking you in their neighborhood. If a black person goes to a white neighborhood, the biggest resistance is going to be the police department, because that is what has been generally used to enforce black people getting out of their lane. So I can go to a white barbecue if I can make it to the barbecue without getting pulled over first. So that's hopefully somewhat of an answer to your question.
Good point, but I could almost kind of say same way with me, because if I'm a white guy driving into an all-black neighborhood, when the police see me, they're going to think I'm there for one thing, and that's to buy a little candy.
Okay.
Even though I may not be, So yeah, now I grant you that I think you would be met with more resistance on that side, Just like you said, I'd be met with more resistance from the people. But this is where we got to get past.
But let me say something. Let me point out something.
We're having barbecues together.
Let me point out. Hold on, hang on. Let me point out something that you mentioned that did resonate in terms of if a white guy came to a black neighborhood, he is there to buy a little bit of narcotics. That's oftentimes absolutely correct. However, there's an issue here. If I'm in your neighborhood, people think I'm there to commit crimes. If you're in my neighborhood, the police think you're in my neighborhood to purchase drugs, which is also a crime. But if you notice, you've never heard of white guys straying into black neighborhoods and getting beat up by the cops. They will simply ask you, do you have drugs on you, whatever, and they let you go. When the black guy goes to the white neighborhood, the outcome is not always like that.
You're right. You're right about that. And I'll be honest with you. I think a lot of times when black people do come in, I kind of hate saying black because it
color. You whatever. You feel free to say whatever you want. I'm not going to censor you.
I'm not trying to put out one narrative, but when you take somebody who is non-white, okay, and they've lived in their community their whole life, surrounded by people of their own background, okay, and they've had, they've been spoon-fed and dealt with cops themselves where they've had none but bad experiences because the cops are generally the only reason the cops are there are for dealing with criminal behavior. So that's all they get to hear and feel. And that right there, that sticks in their minds. So when they come into a white neighborhood, okay, and they get pulled over, they're already in the mindset, okay, these cops are probably going to hate me because of what past experiences told them and taught them. And so, again, this is why unity is a must. Like I said, I think we all just need to start having a bunch of barbecues and invite people from the other side. If you're a liberal, invite people from the conservative side. And if you're conservative, invite people from the conservative side.
I like that.
You've always heard me say we've got to come together.
So do you see any effort towards coming together coming from either candidate running for office? Right now we have Biden, we have Trump, and we have Nikki Haley. Out of those three, who do you think could give us the most unity?
I've not really followed Nikki Haley very close, so it's hard for me to speak on her.
But think about that. Think about that. If you haven't followed Nikki Haley closely, you can't speak on her. That shows she's not doing much that's very divisive. Because even if she was making waves, you would know whether you were following her or not.
I have tried to keep up with some of it. I don't think she did a good job. There's things that she did I don't think she did very good on.
We're talking about unity, though. We're talking about unity first. We can talk about her performance as an ambassador, as a governor, but right now we're talking about unity. Have you said you don't follow her that much, but you're stating from what you heard she hasn't done a good job. Have you heard of anything about her dividing people up?
People divided on her and unfortunately, I think it's sad that people did become divisive on her when she started running against Trump. People went divisive on her, and I think that's sad. As for, like I said, all I can do is speak on her performance that I've seen. I don't think it's that impressive. Is she a better candidate for beating Biden? No, I don't think she is.
Why not?
She's a white female.
You think a white rich dude is better?
I think if
wait a minute. Nikki Haley's not white. Nikki Haley's not considered white. She's a minority.
Okay, what minority is she? Because to me, she appears white. I mean, she may have some other backgrounds in her, but like me, I do have American Indian blood, but you see my picture, it's white as can be.
Yeah. Nikki Haley appears white because she is trying to appeal to her constituency. As many have stated, Nikki Haley has a traditional Indian name. she knows, similar to Barack Hussein Obama, that if she were to use that name, it would alienate her from her base, which is why when Obama was president, folks on the right made no secret that his middle name was Hussein and continued throwing that. Nikki Haley is not her name. I can't even pronounce her first name, but it is a name that is native to the country of India.
Well, somebody just said she was Asian Indian.
Well, India's in Asia, yeah.
Right, right. So she's East Indian. Okay. Incredibly smart people, I will say that. I don't think I've met an East Indian that ain't smart.
Yeah, but think about but what does that say? That this woman is trying to come up with an English sounding name and not use her own original name, or just like with Barack Hussein Obama. What does that say in regards to their names and how this country views people?
To me, you know, if she's going to try to hide her real name, I think she's just trying to, again, it falls back to pandering. She's trying to use a name that's going to appeal to people, but truthfully, pandering is very divisive.
Okay, and I don't disagree with that, but what does it say that she got to pander that way, that if she uses her real name, these people are not going to find her appealing?
It tells me that they are, basically, them people are shallow. I will say it, them people are shallow. If she's afraid that she can't use her real name, then the people who are, you know, who she's trying to gain support from are shallow, and they're not going to give her the support regardless she uses real name or an assumed name.
Yeah.
And again, that falls back to division, unfortunately, and that's division on the right, on the conservative side, and that causes a problem. As for Trump, so many people on the left hated him for squawking about, you know, name calling, and I agree, name calling was childish. It always will be.
But I'll let you continue, but keep in mind, now, Nikki Haley's real name is Nimrata, I believe it is. When you mentioned Trump's name calling, it queued it up because Trump is also making fun of her name. He's called her Nimrod or something like that. So he is also making fun of her name. But you said name calling you're not a fan of. Keep going.
Yeah, name calling is always childish. We do hear from both sides, and I think a lot of the country would just simply like to see the name calling go aside and the candidates actually talk about just straight up topics without name calling for once. If they could do that in one show, I think it would make a dramatic difference in how people vote. If they could do one where I'm looking for, where they go on, they do their debate. If they could do one debate without slinging.
I got to move it on, but you said it comes from both sides. Do you really see before Trump name calling coming equally from the liberals and Republicans? I mean, you don't see no difference in what Trump is doing from anybody else in name calling, in terms of name calling?
Now, like I said, I've seen it from both sides. I've seen it with, you know, all the way back to Clinton. Now, I couldn't vote when Clinton came in. I wasn't old enough. Okay, I was short by about a year.
So just to get clarity, with Trump's name calling, you're basically saying, look, he's doing nothing different than going all the way back to Clinton. Everybody's done exactly what he's doing. You don't see Trump standing out in that area at all. He's just like everybody else.
I think the only reason he stands out is he's done more of it.
Okay, fair enough.
He's done more of it, you know. But again, it's just that's the only reason I see Trump standing out. And that's the only reason, really, that I see Trump. That's why everybody's so divisive over Trump and hollering about division over Trump, is they simply don't like the name calling.
Yeah. Then why would he stop?
I can't answer that. I'm not in Trump's mind.
All right, I got to move it on, Hound Dog. You know what I got to do.
I mean, think about it. I mean, we've even heard Moo the Tuxedo Cat come on here.
Yeah.
And listen to, I mean, you know.
I agree.
He's gone off.
I agree.
Okay. But why won't he stop? I don't know. I'm not in his mind.
Right. Fair enough. And I will say, in regards to Moo, if Moo was running for office, yeah, that wouldn't help him out at all either. But I do got to move it on, Hound Dog. Appreciate you coming through.
Take care.
Hey, yeah, JP Farms. Shout out to the Hat and Mustache. Thank you very much. On YouTube, we always run the simulcast. In regards to Trump's name calling, Christie says he's being real about how they act. You can be real about how somebody act without calling them names. I mean, we know the coronavirus came from China. Calling it the Kung Fu virus is being real. We know Nikki Haley lied and suggested that she had Native American heritage. Calling her Pocahontas is come on now. Look, we can point out issues without sounding ridiculous. I mean, what Trump is doing is not calling it out for what it is. Trump is actually making fun of these people. But if you support Trump, you're going to defend it no matter what the hell he says. Bird brain, really? I mean, out of all the things you could point out about Nikki, bird brain, that I don't even know where to go with that. Looking in the comments, Mortgage Savage says sticks and stones. In regards to the phrase sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. If that phrase is actually true, why the hell are we still hearing about Obama suggesting that Republicans cling to their Bibles and guns? Or the Democrats saying that, MAGA are deplorables? Or now that Biden is saying ultra MAGA? I've said this a number of times on the program. And by the way, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 30,000. We got almost 600 of you in here. Could be anywhere you want to be on this app. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I understand we don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. You don't have to agree with the host. We go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. We allow folks to speak. But I've said this numerous times, and I'll go right back to the box. In regards to Trump making America a great country to be in and giving us a great economy, no major global affairs, folks liking the price of fuel, and suggesting that because he's doing such a great job for the country, we should ignore. I've said it numerous times. You could have Obama, you could have Biden in office giving you exactly the same policies of Trump, a complete mirror, doing everything that Trump is doing. But if they were insulting Christians and gun owners every day, I don't believe the right would ignore that. The sticks and stones, it sounds great until you start actually doing it. The reason why Trump's insults are easy to ignore from folks on the right and MAGA is because they're not aimed at them. His insults are not aimed. It's very easy to ignore something when nobody's saying nothing about you. But if you had the same policies coming from somebody on the left and they were constantly criticizing the Bible, criticizing Christians, criticizing gun owners, you're not going to ignore that. I mean, so what a president says does matter, no matter how great the economy is. I don't care what somebody is doing for you. You're not going to let them talk to you any kind of way. Not if you are a man or woman of principles. I mean, is it okay if I come and give you a free remodeling of your kitchen and just insult the hell out of your kids and wife the whole time I'm there? You're okay with that? Put it on television, make commercials about how fat your wife is. Hey, you're getting a free remodeling job. Unless you are somebody with absolutely no principles at all, you're not going to let somebody talk to you any kind of way. So we need to stop pretending like words don't matter. Looking in the box, we'll keep it moving with Takesha Blue. Long time I haven't talked to Takesha in a while. Definitely good to bring her up. Cruz. Cruz, yeah. Ted Cruz is a unique example. Let Trump criticize everybody from his dad to his wife. Hopefully you got more principles than Ted Cruz. Takesha, good afternoon.
Ted Cruz has no testicles because he wouldn't be my husband. Still loving on Donald Trump after he even talked about me. Baby, he'll be a divorced man. Let me say that.
Yeah. I would dare say that most wives would not want Ted Cruz to behave the way he did after that. I mean, he literally put it.
Who lets a little print in the front man criticize they with leaky cheeks and everything? Come on now.
Well, he did put up a picture of Melania next to a picture of Ted Cruz's wife and tweeted out, which one would you choose? I mean,
doesn't matter. Melania face so strong that it could enter the strongest man race for lifting weights. She done had more surgeries than the hospital allow. So we not even finna deal with her with that face pulled back further than a snatch back on a black man's head.
But wait, some would say Melania Trump is the best looking first lady we've ever had.
But if I went and got about 45 surgeries, I would be the best looking woman too.
Yeah.
If I go get my face pulled back with clothespins and get my cheeks pushed up, I'll be and look like a little Asian doll or whatever she is. I'll be the prettiest president wife too.
Okay, fair enough. So at the end of the day, does unity matter?
It matters, but I'm gonna tell you like this: that's something we'll never be again.
Why not?
It's gone too far. I think that, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I think that if after Trump lost, if he had went away and stopped riling up his base with the stolen election, I think it would have died out, and I think we could have gotten along a little better than what we're getting along now. But because he kept spoon feeding them like a baby with oatmeal cereal, then it got worse. So no, and I don't think Nikki Haley can unite us, because anybody that say life expectancy is about 70 years old, and I'm gonna raise Social Security to 70 years old. So what you saying is we gonna apply for it on our deathbed?
Wow. Yeah, you know what's interesting you said that, because I posted a video of a hospice or a hospice nurse.
Greg Carter, I am not wrong. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I posted a video of a hospice nurse, and she stated that she was like, that's around the average age that our patients pass away, and she wants to raise the age to 70.
That's what I'm talking about. So while we there, and they got us on the breathing machine and pumping our hearts, we supposed to say, hey, let me sign up for that Social Security. Come on now.
So in the comments, I got looks like Julio is saying there is too much hate in our country. Are you putting most of that on Trump from what you're saying?
No, I'm saying he added to it.
Okay.
It's always been hate in the country, but he fueled the fire.
What about?
Because he keeps going out here saying stuff that really is not true and really don't make no sense. And like you was telling the other guy, first of all, what grown man sits up and name calls? My 4-year-old grandbaby is taught not to name call, so he too old for that kind of foolishness. But when you got a child inside of a big, dusty, grown body with the mind that he has, he can't do no better, baby. Now, let me say this, handsome. I got to get this out before I forget it. Now, was Nancy Pelosi or Nikki Haley responsible for calling the National Guard?
Actually,
people been saying that it was Nancy Pelosi, and now Trump said it was Nikki Haley. So which one is it, handsome?
Yeah. Well, in regards to Biden's cognitive decline, that is certainly a pushback to show that Trump keeps confusing, Nikki Haley with Nancy Pelosi, saying it, he's confusing World War II with World War III. I mean, he's confusing Biden with running against Obama. Trump is making some errors.
Who's in cognitive decline, my friend?
Yeah.
Who?
But most of the country believes that Biden is in cognitive decline, significantly worse than Trump.
Trump every day. Come on now, let's be for real.
Yeah. So you don't see any of the candidates running, Biden, Trump, or Nikki Haley, as possibly giving us unity?
No, I don't. I don't.
What about folks who say that? What about folks who say this started with Obama?
It started with Obama because they didn't like the black man being, in charge. Because there's always been old, ugly, wrinkled up white men. And so when that nice, smooth, pretty skinned, good-looking black man got in, it was a problem.
Well, wait a minute. Nikki Haley said we're not a racist country anymore. She said we've never been racist. You're talking about racism.
Let me tell you something. Like you said, Nikki Haley trying to pander to the base because Nikki act like she ain't BIPOC. Nikki, stop the foolishness. She know racism exists. She went through it. She know it's not over, so she need to stop lying. And that's my whole point. If you got a good platform that you running on, you ain't got to add no lies or bow down and be King Tut to get the job.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. I mean, if let's say a conservative came along with an excellent platform, do you think folks would consider that person over Trump right now in this environment?
Let me tell you something. I don't think Trump got as much support as he used to have.
Really?
I honestly believe, I promise you, I honestly believe that people are saying they support him because they want to keep their seats. But I honestly don't think when they go in there and mark their little circle in, I don't think they're going to vote for Trump, just like they did the last time.
I don't know. Trump is kicking ass in the caucus.
Child, please. Child, please. Stop it.
So
I told you, handsome, I don't even believe the polls the strippers be on in the club. So I ain't believing no polls they send me.
All right, last question. So you're saying that Biden will beat Trump again?
Absolutely. Even if he got to show up at the inauguration in a wheelchair with an oxygen pump, he gonna beat him.
So you make it sound like anybody can beat Trump if the man is half dead.
Go in there and put on a show and beat Donald Trump.
All right, Takesha, good to hear you again.
Good to see you, sweet.
Absolutely a pleasure. Good to have you back on again. All right.
All right.
Hey, Takesha always comes through. I always enjoy talking to Takesha. Keep believing that, says Daniel Seaford. You know, I was debating with a guy on one of the Fox News shows. He was either John Gibson or Tom Sullivan at the time. And they had me on as a liberal with a guy who was basically stating when Obama was running against Romney that even his dog could beat Obama. So in regards to Daniel's comment, keep believing that. Yeah, don't ever find yourself believing that virtually anybody could beat a candidate. You never know. You never know. Trump was not supposed to win in 2016. First, it was going to be Jeb Bush. Then it was going to be Hillary Clinton. So just want to put that out there. I mean, the chance of Trump winning is a real chance. There's a chance. I don't believe that anybody can beat Trump. Looking in the comments real quick. Summary of last night, Trump's speech. Yabba dabba. Okay, all right. Not a big fan of Trump. Going back to the box, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 40,700 plus of you in here. I will go to the box. Real quick, looking at YouTube. Donald Trump is the real Teflon Don. Chicky Chops, friend of the program. Look, I'm not going to disagree with that. At the end of the day, Don, whatever his name, he died in prison now. So that's not a good rebuttal. That's not a good ending for Teflon Don. Yeah, he survived being shot, but didn't he die in prison? So I do believe Trump has the ability to survive a lot of shit. But at the end of the day, you can only get shot so many times before it's over with. I think Tupac would tell you that. Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving with, what does that say? Billy Clinton, 739. Thank you for tapping the screen. Get your boy up to 40,000. Make that happen. Real quick as the box decides to come up. We're asking, does unity even matter at all in this environment? Billy Clinton, good afternoon.
How you doing, sir?
Doing good. Good to have you on. We're talking about unity. We got 3 candidates remaining at this point of any significance. There's a few other candidates out there, but we're going to go with Trump, Biden, and Nikki Haley. Do you see any chance at unity for this country?
I think the unity comes with, like, the people that are the independents, the people that are in the middle. We need to come together with them, because the MAG is too far, man, and they ain't going. They ain't going.
So you're
they're not gonna unite. They already been over there.
So wait a minute.
By themselves.
So you're saying that all of the different groups in this country, MAGA has no interest in being in uniting. MAGA is a divisive group. Is that what you're saying?
Have you ever heard them talk? They said they're against diversity. I mean, they say yuck to diversity.
Really? I've never heard that.
I've heard it a million times. What do you mean you never heard they're against diversity? Even Candace Owens says that black people get jobs because of diversity. She says it all the time. Republicans say it all the time. She says it.
Why would MAGA be against diversity? I mean, is Tim Scott against diversity? I mean, why would MAGA be against diversity? I don't quite get that.
Tim Scott don't even care. He been pulled over 32 times and said it wasn't racism going on. And he's just said, man, I don't want to hear about Tim Scott. You know what I mean?
That's terrible.
He run the police.
That sounds like an old, that reminds me of an old Richard Pryor statement where he said, I've been using cocaine for 15 years, but I ain't addicted. So, I don't know. Wow, he been pulled over 30 times, but he ain't seen no racism. Wow, that's crazy. But why do you think
I'm just
that?
saying, like, some people are too far gone.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do.
So then let me ask you this.
what I mean?
Then let me ask you this question, considering how controversial your statement is that they are not a big fan of diversity, because there's a real chance Trump could be our next president. How do you see America if Trump becomes our next commander-in-chief later this year?
He's gonna hire a doctor to do housing, be over the housing again. When he should be hiring a doctor to do doctor stuff, to be in his cabinet.
But wait a minute though.
He's gonna have all white cabinet.
But wait a minute.
He had before.
That doctor, you're saying he's gonna hire a doctor to do housing, which you're talking about Ben Carson. That doctor was black.
Yeah, but he didn't. Why was he the head of the doctors though? Why was he head of the medical field?
Well, let's not look. Let me.
He had no experience with housing, sir.
You think? Wait, hold on.
They just put him there because he was black and he was a Republican.
Well, but you think that's something unique to the Trump administration? Pete Buttigieg is the Secretary of Transportation. He doesn't have any experience. He was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. I mean, and he's on the Biden administration doing the same thing. That's kind of what happens.
Pete Buttigieg. I'm from South Bend, so.
Oh shit! Okay. All right.
Pete Buttigieg is a Rhodes Scholar. He can do whatever he wanted to do.
Oh my God.
You don't think he has no experience with transportation?
Do you think? I mean, they're blaming him for the Ohio mishap. I don't know. I don't know if he has enough experience for that gig. I'll leave it at that. I mean, I don't know if.
Right.
So I mean, I don't see where. Out of everybody they could have got, he is the main guy to get. I believe it's like this. When you're running for president, clearly it's just happened in the Republican Party with Ron DeSantis and all these. Well, I'd say more with Vivek Ramaswamy and Tim Scott. They were running for cabinet positions. Just like Ben Carson when he was running in 2016 that you're pointing out. There's a reason why they're not saying anything bad about Trump, even though they can't win without talking about him. It's because they want to be on his administration. You may see some of those folks getting those same type of jobs we're talking about now.
I understand, but I mean, who is he gonna pick? How diverse is the Republican Party, sir? It's not diverse at all. He's gonna have to go Latino route, or he's gonna have to go with Nikki Haley, who claims to be white. So I don't know how she can be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how she can be BIPOC.
I would be surprised. I think Trump is kind of that guy who takes criticism personal. With Trump, everything is personal. I'd be surprised at this point to see Trump give Nikki Haley any position. He said at one of his rallies in New Hampshire that I was watching a few days ago that he could never give Nikki Haley the VP position. He was telling the crowd, look, everybody wants to know who I'm gonna pick for VP. And he was like, I can't give it to Nikki Haley. He's like, I can't go around calling a woman a bird brain and then tell you, well, here's the pick. So he made it clear to his crowd, Nikki Haley's not getting that position. I think that Vivek Ramaswamy is almost guaranteed to get a position on the cabinet. Obviously, Chris Christie would never get anything. Tim Scott would likely get something because he endorsed Trump immediately. Ron DeSantis is kind of iffy. But I do believe those folks, and the governor of North Dakota, Tom, whatever his name was, if he wanted a position, he would get one as well. Them folks who dropped out and immediately endorsed Trump, never said anything negative about him, yeah, they'll get positions if they want them.
But what I'm saying is, Trump is like a pimp. He can say whatever to them people, to Sanchez, Nikki Haley, and they still love you. They going back. They ain't doing nothing, so he can control them. So he can choose Nikki Haley because he can control her.
No, I gotta disagree.
He can control her.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but Nikki Haley has said some pretty harsh things about Trump compared to Tim Scott. I mean, Nikki Haley is now actually attacking Trump. So her chance of getting on the administration is done. In fact, I said this on the program yesterday because Rumble has been trying to get me to come on and broadcast my show. And when I say trying to get me to come on, somebody fairly high up, so I probably will be on Rumble. But I went on their site because they don't censor. And if you look at anything featuring Nikki Haley, the Republican Party hates her. I mean, they're talking about her heritage, saying that she has no legal right to run, go back to India. It's pretty harsh. I can't see Trump putting her.
The same thing they did to Obama. That's crazy. They doing the same thing they did to Obama.
It's bad. It's bad. I can't see Nikki Haley getting the cabinet position. MAGA really hates her. I think it's over with for Nikki Haley.
Probably. She need to come to our side. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know what you mean. Wait. You favor Nikki Haley?
No.
All right.
She used to have some stuff to say. She used to have some stuff to say, but now she done went totally MAGA and say slavery and stuff like that,
Yeah. I mean, that's almost as well. Before I'm moving on. Yeah, well,
you already stated it.
Yeah, before moving on, Trump stated that if he was around back in the day, he could have probably negotiated an ending to the Civil War. He said that probably could have been negotiated. Think that's possible?
And people believe that, man.
I gotta go. All right, Billy.
No. One second.
Sure.
Trump got to have a good economy for 4 years. Stop saying he had a good economy because he didn't have a good economy for 4 years. And Obama had the best borders ever. Had the least amount of people coming in them. They called him the porter in chief, right?
Yeah, they did. Rush Limbaugh.
Trump screwed that up.
Wow.
Trump screwed that up in a year. So stop. Can you please correct people when they say Obama didn't have good borders, please? Because I know you're a Democrat.
We'll talk. Appreciate you coming on. All right. Now, in regards to, I do believe the border was far more controlled under the Obama administration than Republicans let on. I don't disagree with what he just stated at all, because anytime a liberal becomes president, the claim is they're going to promote socialism, they're going to take away everybody's guns, and they're going to be for open borders. Obviously, Obama certainly was not for open borders, because you hear the Republicans, when Trump started getting in trouble for separating families at the border, well, Obama was doing it too. Yeah, but when Obama was in office, we were being told he was for open borders. He can't be doing both. So, yeah, I do believe Obama was controlling the border a lot. Same thing about the notion that Obama didn't care about America and all of this stuff, but at the same time calling him the drone president. He was droning all these terrorists and things like that. So, yeah, you got hindsight to look back and see some of the comments were indeed two-faced. Now, that may come out with Trump, that may come out with Biden, but yeah, all of the judgment was not fair or accurate. Looking in the comments, the same narrative, the racist state when trying to say we don't know anything as people of color. Zilla, yikes. Do people still say that in 2024 that black people don't know it? Yikes. When a president can make millions off of foreign governments, it's bad for America. I don't know how you stop that. I don't know how you stop a president making backdoor deals with foreign dignitaries and things like that. My guess is all of them have done that to some degree or another, whether it's, Trump has a lot of international property, so it's a lot easier for him to do it, but some of the other candidates, give my son a job, Hunter Biden. I don't know about Barack Obama. For some reason, shout out to the Obamas, they have been fairly scandal-free compared to most past presidents, with the exception of, I guess, Solyndra, the IRS scandal, and Fast and Furious. Those are the only three scandals I can think of out of the Obama administration. Other than that, it was this brown suit, flag lapel pins, and not having a flag on stage. Obama was, by comparison, fairly squeaky clean to most folks. Looking in the comments, I don't see a reason to not give Biden 4 more years. Really? I lean left and I can come up with dozens of reasons. I can come up with reasons not to get Trump 4 more years as well. I'm just simply saying neither one of these candidates is perfect. You can't come up with a single reason not to want to have Biden pushed out of office. Not one. Going back to the box, Appreciate you folks that are holding on. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 50,000. Real quick in the box, we will go straight to, I believe it says, I can't pronounce that. Is it Michelle? Is that an N?
Yes.
Michelle, good afternoon.
It's Nichelle.
Okay, Nichelle, appreciate
Nichelle Nichols.
Fair enough. So, does unity matter to you at all at this point? In this country, does it make any is it something that you believe we should pursue, unifying the country?
I honestly think that, both parties really, really need to come together when it comes down to one, immigration. Being the fact that, they have babies and, coming from the border and it just doesn't, it's not right. It's unhumanitarian. But at the end of the day, we do have to still stand our ground and protect our home. So it is a thin line, but something needs to be done about it. And I honestly feel that as long as Democrats feel like they have the upper hand, they won't bend the knee. So
what do you bend the knee? How? Explain that. What do you mean?
Meaning come together, unify. I honestly think Republicans will unify with Democrats if they're, if we can come to a mutual solution. But I don't feel the same with Democrats.
It's interesting. It's interesting you would say that because I just did a video earlier. I think it's Tom Johnson, the Speaker of the House or whatever the case may be on the Republican side, or he's a congressperson, and he was doing an interview with can I think of the woman's name of Fox News? I can't think of her name right now, but he was doing an interview with her. And he flat out admitted that they were trying to work a bipartisan deal on immigration with the liberal Senate. And Trump has been in contact with him, telling them, don't do it. Now, Trump is not a politician right now, but Trump is trying, according to him, and he's Republican, Trump is trying to tell the House not to work with the liberal Senate to actually get the border under control for the simple, obvious reason. As long as things remain chaotic, it increases his chances of being reelected again. So when you say you don't see the liberals coming to the other side, but you do the Republicans, you got a Republican admitting. Laura Ingraham is the Fox News host, by the way. He actually admitted it to her. Trump just called me today and said, for the most part, don't work with them. How do you feel that?
I'm pretty sure he probably said it in a way to where he knows they're not going to come to an agreement. They're going to throw this in, that in, or whatever. But
why is he? But he's not. Wait a minute. He's not a politician. Why is he interfering with Washington? Why is he even in it?
I don't know. I think he needs to kind of fall back a little bit. I do agree with that. If he gets back reelected, then his point of matter. But at this point in time, I think he does need to kind of fall back. I mean, I'm not, I'm not Republican, by the way, way before Trump. But I honestly feel that they need to come together when it comes down to this immigration. It's just a bit out of hand.
May I ask, what part of the country are you in?
I'm in Arizona. I'm right by a border.
Yeah, you're right by a border. So
we're feeling it.
Okay. So if we got Trump in there and got rid of Biden, do you think we would get the border under control?
I think it'll be more restricted. Yeah, I think something will be done. You can clearly see it. It wasn't as bad as it was when Trump was in the House. You didn't have thousands and thousands of people coming at once. That was clearly.
That's not true. Wait a minute. That is not true. They were coming under Trump. He was trying not to let them in, but there was certainly, what do they call them, caravans? That was certainly happening under the Trump administration. Now, they see Biden as more sympathetic, so the numbers of them coming has grown, but Trump tried to get the asylum law thrown out. Whereas an immigrant, all they have to do is walk up to a federal border patrol agent and say they're seeking asylum. By law, they have to be let in.
That's the problem. I don't think we should be protected by border patrol. I think we should be protected by our troops. I think the military should, I don't know, our soldiers should protect our borders, not border patrol.
Well, the soldiers are trained to fight. They're not trained to do that. I mean, if you put the soldiers on the border, I mean, it's like sending cops to a mental health hospital. You don't see where it might be a heavy-handed approach that could lead to somebody being injured, because that's what the military does. They're not you're talking about something that requires more of a softer approach. Put the military down there. I mean, would you be okay if somebody climbed the wall and taking them out with a firearm?
I don't know if they should take them out with a firearm. I think they should, instead of putting the money in to bus them all the way to Chicago, put the money in to send them back where they came from.
Yeah. Well, but that's where you have the asylum law. You have to first give them due process. Let me ask it to you this way. If somebody walks up to a border agent and says, my life is in danger, I'm seeking asylum to stay in America because otherwise me and my child will be killed, do you suggest turning them back around and throwing them back in their own country?
Oh shit! I think a lot of people that's in prison right now had a reason to do what they did, but they still in prison.
I don't know if that answers the question or not, though. Would you turn them around, reject their claim, and throw them back in that environment?
I think I would say you got to respect the process.
The process is that if they request asylum, they are allowed to come into America until they get a court date. That's the current process. So I'm going to ask you. So I'm going to ask you again. Then, if someone walked up to a border agent and said, "My life is in danger. I want to come into the United States because if I'm sent back home, the cartel will take my life," what would you do?
Well, shit. I guess it all depends on, hey, how many people we got? How many people can we house at once? They need to keep it in that area. Keep it at the border. Look, y'all can bunk up right here and we're going to figure this out. But don't just take them from state to state and drop them off.
Well, the state...
wait, hold on. You're giving them a right to commit a crime.
But wait a minute. Do you realize the issue you're complaining about, taking them from state to state and dropping them off, that is something being done by Republican Governor Greg Abbott and to a lesser degree Ron DeSantis. That is not being done by the country. I know Biden shipped a few of them overnight, but for the most part, that's being done by Governor Abbott.
Well, here's the thing. Just because you're a Republican, you don't have to agree with every damn thing they do. Just because if a person is a liberal, they don't have to agree with everything.
True.
Just like being in a relationship, you're not going to agree with everything your partner does. You're not going to agree with everything that your partner decides to do, but you're going to work with it because I love my partner. So I'm not asking for perfection from neither side.
So you don't agree with Governor Abbott busing migrants to Chicago and New York. You're saying you don't agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that. That's why I said I don't agree with everything Republicans do, and I don't agree with everything liberals do, but I am naturally a Republican for their basic, what they claim that they want America to look like and be. That's what I agree with.
What about Nikki Haley?
I'm sorry, I don't fool with her.
Why not? What's wrong with Nikki Haley?
I don't know too much about her, but she just seems like she's a little wishy-washy to me. As soon as she starts talking about that retirement, people need to damn near be dead just to retire.
Let me ask you this question, because you said you tend to lean right, but you admitted you don't.
Honey, yes.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you being.
I was reading a comment.
Okay, well let's converse. Let's talk. Now, so let me ask you this, because according to a poll, 63% of Republicans believe this, but I'm gonna get your take on it. Who won the 2020 election?
They said Biden won. So
that ain't what I asked you. Who do you believe won that election?
I only can believe whatever they said. Biden won, so I
Okay.
guess he won.
Okay. Any idea why Trump is saying he won by a landslide?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea.
So if they're saying
I can't say I can't walk around here acting like I know everything, you know?
so if they're
What's
saying
wrong with
as
this
you
world today?
so as you point out, if they're saying Biden won, do you see it wrong for Trump to go around saying he won by a landslide when the election officials are saying that's wrong? Do you see any problem with that?
I honestly think Trump, whatever he decided that should have been done, I would have kept it away from the media. I don't think I would have did all what he did. You know, I don't think I would have did that.
Do you hold him accountable? Do you hold him accountable for January 6th?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Just like I'm not gonna hold the liberals accountable for all the fake protesters with the BLMs and all that. Everybody has their own choice to walk outside their door and do whatever they want to do. Because guess what? Government is not God in my
So
eyes.
so in regards to not holding Trump accountable, and a lot of folks don't hold Trump accountable for January 6th, but I want to ask you, why do you think that happened? What do you think they were there? What were they angry about?
I don't know why they were so upset. You know, it's like I know you want to protest, but
What were they protesting?
I guess the say that Trump was the winner.
But you said you believe the folks who said he lost.
I said what?
You said you believe the folks who said that Biden won. So Trump has got these folks protesting at something that even you believe is not true.
Well, I don't believe it's true, and I don't believe it's fake. I don't know. I don't know if he won or not. But obviously somebody said he won because he's our president. So I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's a lie. I don't know. That's why I never spoke about it.
Do you believe January 6th would have happened if Trump wasn't saying he won?
You know what I believe?
I'm trying to find
I
out.
believe there was a group of people angry because almost the entire year people was rioting and going all up in these streets and messing with these businesses and lighting stuff on fire. And by the way, I would like to say this. Most of them was just some bad little old kids that needed somebody to put them in their place because they was protesting about Black Lives Matter, and I didn't see none damn black people out there. It just seems like they wanted to use that to show out and mess up these stores and mess up these communities, you know, and I'm sorry to say that, but I thought that was just too much. You know, if you want to mess something up in your own house.
Okay, so you believe that January 6th happened because people were pissed off about Black Lives Matter protests?
No, I just feel like they had them group of people had enough, and I really believe that it was the Antifa that really the ones that acted to be Trump supporters, because all it takes is to put on a shirt, and in the media, you a Trump supporter.
Any idea any idea when you say the potential of it being Antifa? By the way, folks, I do appreciate you tapping the screen. Get your butt to 60,000. You know what we're trying to do here. Help out the algorithm. In regards to it being Antifa, we know all of the Republican senators and Republican Congress were there in D.C. that day, in addition to the Republican vice president. Any idea why none of them who were actually there that day state that Antifa was responsible for that?
I don't know. I don't know why they did that.
No, why is it that no one of prominence that were actually there on the ground there that day blaming Antifa? Where did you hear that Antifa was responsible?
I just felt like that because no one that was supporting Trump the whole time tore anything up. Like, I didn't see that. I just seen a lot of. I didn't see people hanging with Trump shirts on and different signs going around tearing up communities. But I seen a lot of kids with backpacks on that wasn't even black.
So,
And it was just weird. It was
okay,
so weird.
all
You
right.
know, and by the way, real quick, the young kids nowadays, they don't really know what true struggle is. They don't have they don't.
Well, wait a minute. Okay, hang on. So,
Yelling out about
yeah, we don't want to go into a conversation about the young kids. That's a different subject. But so what you're saying is you felt like it was Antifa because you haven't seen Trump supporters going around rioting and looting, but you actually have no actual proof. You're just blaming it on Antifa out of the way you feel.
I didn't blame it on them.
You just said it. You didn't say it was
I
Antifa.
said, hell, I don't know. It could have been Antifa doing that. I didn't say it was.
Okay. All right.
I didn't say that. I said it could have been Antifa. You don't know. You just don't know. We don't know.
Could it have been MAGA?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It could have been MAGA.
All right, I got to move it on, Nichelle. All right, Nichelle, look, you're always welcome back. I appreciate you coming through. Hey, come on back through anytime. Real quick, looking in but I have to ask these questions, folks. I'm not trying to be biased on the other side. You know where I lean politically, but I try to give folks a fair shake. She made some statements. I wanted to get to the bottom of it. I don't know if I did, but nevertheless, that's how the program is ran. In the comments, it says she was too lost. I don't know, but her beliefs of what took place on January 6th are not unique. A lot of people believe what she believes. A lot of people do. I've had numerous conversations with numerous folks that believe exactly what she stated. Looking at lost is light. I don't quite get that. LOL, why is Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump providing comfort to insurrectionists? Yikes. Well, they haven't, I'm going to say they haven't been charged with insurrection, but two of them have been convicted of sedition. So, all right, your point is well taken. Continuing the program on, I do appreciate you folks that are holding. Chip Barnes, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Unity.
Come on, baby. How's it going?
Chip, good afternoon.
Hey.
Talking about unity. Does that matter anymore in America?
Well, I think this is the key thing I believe. And by the way, Tim, I want to say it's a pleasure to speak with you. I've been following you back to the rideshare origins of your channel on YouTube. So,
okay.
Yeah, I've experienced all the pain and suffering along the way, unfortunately. So,
understood.
Anyway, we're talking politics. So, here's what I believe, and this is very controversial, but I'll put it out there. I believe that the people have been deceived to fight on this left-right continuum, and to blame their neighbor down the street for liking Trump or vice versa. And when the real criminals are standing above us in the banksters, the suits and ties, the military complex, all these different influences groups like AIPAC, that's the power system that needs to be dismantled, not whether it's Trump or Biden or Bobby Kennedy or whomever. What do you think about that, Jim?
I think you wrapped it up in a nice package, but when you say not Trump or Biden, is it possible that some of the things you complained about that is the problem in this country is actually being promoted by Trump or Biden?
Yeah, fair point. I mean, obviously, some of the policies are influenced by the establishment of who gets into power. That's irrefutable. The argument that I'm making is, over the long haul, if you look at what's happened since the Reagan administration, for those of you who are old enough to know that time frame, there's been a slow-motion corporate coup d'etat that has taken place over the last 45, 50 years that is irrefutable. And look at the landscape of where you live. There's no longer small ownership of business. It's all big business chains. And when we spend our money at the community level, it used to stay in the community back in the 60s and 70s. Now it goes up to Wall Street banks. So there's this slow but steady movement of funds from the lower echelons of society up to the upper ones.
So let me run with that. Which party do you think is more friendly to big business?
I'll go with this. Historically, there was a big difference between the Republican Party being more pro-business, which they still are, and takes more money from corporations, which they still do. However, that gap has narrowed substantially. In fact, it's becoming negligible at this point with the amount of money that flows from corporations, high net worth donors, super PACs and the like, with corporate personhood. Money is free speech. It's becoming indistinguishable between whether a Democrat's in power or a Republican for many, many issues.
I got some pushback. The Democrats are fans of a lot of social programs that would directly tax big business, whereas the Republicans are universal health care, for instance. That money is going to come from big business. Tax the rich. That's something you hear Democrats talk about. An increase in minimum wage, tuition loan forgiveness. You don't see any of that coming from the right. Why is that?
Well, the reason it comes out, period, is because they know it's not going to pass. So you can get up there from the hilltops and scream and yell.
Would pass.
Anything,
Whoa. If you had a 60-seat Senate majority with the Democrats, that stuff would pass. What do you mean it's not going to pass?
Well, the Democrats did have a supermajority for a brief period of time, although a couple of independents that probably didn't play ball. But they had that majority, and they did not pass things that the majority of people wanted. They came up with this watered-down version of Obamacare with no public option. So, listen, I'm firmly in the camp of we need another route to change the power dynamic, as much as I'd rather not say so. And again, I'd like to be proven wrong, happily so, if we can change it by elections. But the electoral process has less and less of an impact, and more of the case has been a corporate takeover. Look what's happening right now. Where's the money flowing in society? It's going outside the country to foreign wars. Special interests like AIPAC are controlling the policies with respect to what we're seeing in Israel, Palestine. It seems like an irrevocably, it's a broken system that can't be reformed from within, in my opinion.
Okay. Sounds like you're basically suggesting we drain the swamp.
I think that we need, at a minimum, a broad, large-scale, nonviolent, civil disobedient-based revolution in this country to overcome the very structures that are preventing it from being changed from within the very system.
Yeah, I think you're at the unicorn stage. I mean, I get your point, but that's not going to happen. I mean, in regards to Trump and Biden, let's come back down to earth. In regards to Trump and Biden, do you see any unity coming from those two?
Oh, absolutely not. No, the country's as divided as it's ever been. If you look at the average conversation here on TikTok that takes place during an evening live session, you have people that completely denigrate the other side with no mercy. Everybody thinks that they're absolutely right. The other person's 100% wrong. There's no common ground whatsoever. And by the way, when I stated what I said before, I'm not foolish enough to think that it's going to happen. So coming back to Earth, I was on Earth the whole time. I'm just saying what I think would be.
Yeah, I get your point. I mean, I would be far happier if somebody would give me $1 million. I think what you're talking about, not necessarily disagreeing with you, I just think it's something we're not going to see in our lifetime.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. I do talk about the factors that might tilt the balance, but I think that most Americans are firmly entrenched in this concept of civic duty and voting, which is idealism, and I'd like to see it change the problems. But I believe that every time we go to the polls and flip those levers and hope that something better will happen, rarely do things get better for the working class and the poor in this country. And that steady slide that's been exacerbated by inflation and other dynamics has seemingly accelerated that problem. And I don't know if we're going to recover from it without the empire actually falling apart before it can be reformed from within.
Wow. All right. I got to move it on, Chip. That's a mouthful. Appreciate you coming through.
Appreciate you.
Absolute. Looking in the comments, I lived it. I know the truth, says Worried Pass. All right. Fair enough. I've been around a few years. I don't know how much of this I live, but looking in the comments on YouTube, we don't need a new party. We need people to stop looking to government as the solution. It is a problem factory exclusively. I think Ronald Reagan kind of made a similar quote, you know, the worst thing you could ever hear is, I'm with the government and I'm here to help. I got to push back. I have to push back simply from a minority standpoint, which is not something that is going to be very popular to a lot of non-minorities. Without big government, we would be fucked, period. The idea that big government is not the solution, you think at a states' rights level, I would have as many freedoms as I have today? Same thing when you talk about the abortion debate, or even you talk about the Second Amendment. Without big government, that stuff's going to fall apart. For you Second Amendment folks, if you leave it up to states' rights, you're going to lose your gun owner, your ability to have a firearm in a lot of places. You know they want to take that away from you. With African Americans, we know that a lot of states were not happy with allowing us to be free. So I think now that big government has solved a lot of problems, this generation kind of has forgotten about that, and you only see some of the negatives of big government overreach. And there are many areas where big government has overreached and can be corrupt. But I will submit to you that the people left to their own devices are no less corrupt. They are no less corrupt. If you get rid of government oversight and let the people do whatever they want, it's going to be some bad people out there too. So understand that. Looking in the comments, the federal government saved black people from cruelty. I could not agree with that anymore. That's a home run. That's referred to that statement as a home run. The federal government saved black people from cruelty. So when folks ask, why don't blacks vote Democrat all the damn time? They're following the media, the propaganda. No, your grandparents. My own grandparents personally, they're telling us these stories. Big government did save us from cruelty. Old habits die hard. I get it that was 50, 60, 70 years ago or whatever, but old habits die hard. I mean, I don't feel confident that if we got rid of big government and left it up to the states' rights, that some of that stuff wouldn't come back. I don't feel confident of that. I know I've had debates since Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett became Supreme Court justices on how they would never roll back Roe v. Wade. It would never happen. Where are we now? They would never roll back civil rights for minorities. I hope you're right. But after seeing what happened with Roe v. Wade, I'm not going to ever believe never is fact. I don't believe that anymore. Looking in the box, pharmaceutical companies care nothing about your race. True. I don't disagree with that. We don't use musket guns. We need to update the Constitution. Now, that's a liberal standpoint. Folks, Trump is on record saying that people don't need high capacity things like that, but he backtracked on it. Going back to the box, though, appreciate you folks that are tuned in. We'll go to Andy. Good afternoon. Actually, I hit Moose. Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. The states will not take our guns. I'm out for now. Proper use of the Bill of Rights. Our states' rights, from a states' rights aspect in this country, our nation has a history of states not following the Bill of Rights. Otherwise, I would have been free from day one. So I don't trust the states left up to their own devices to actually follow the Bill of Rights. Moose, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me up here. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming on. So does unity, is that something America should even pursue?
Absolutely. And I think that, as I really felt as after Joe Biden became president, there was a time when things were just in disarray. I almost felt like things were getting back to a point where we could actually have, conversations. And I'm a Democrat. And I'm a rancher, and I live around a lot of hardcore Republicans. But at one point, we were able to have discussions about different things. And I will say this, I hear folks say the Republicans and the liberals as if all Democrats are liberals. I'm a middle of the road Democrat. I do not believe in any, taking guns away. As a matter of fact, I live where we have a lot of guns, but I do believe in some type of gun control. And I felt like your statement that if you let the government do it, they're going to take your guns away. And that's the kind of talk that causes the MAGA Republicans to lose their mind and then go off on
let me give you clarity on that, and I will double down on that statement. I do believe if you leave it to the government from a states' rights standpoint, some states will make it harder, if not impossible, to obtain a firearm. I'm not pulling that out of my ass. There's a history of it. California, Illinois, New York, there's a history of states. Once the federal government was not interfering, they were starting to roll back the Second Amendment. It's actually happened.
But I see what you're saying, but you're clarifying your statement. It will make it tougher to get certain types of weapons. And I believe that you do have to have some gun control over certain types of weapons, certain types of stock, certain types of magazines, etc. But I will tell you this: in New Mexico, we have a deal that's going on right now where we're talking about doing some gun control, and of course, immediately, you have the far right jumping on the bandwagon saying, "Oh, they're going to take your guns away," when in fact, this is a Democrat state, and we cherish our guns as Democrats as well, just as much as the Republicans do, and we will make sure that my right to keep and bear arms is not infringed upon. So, I like I said, I understand.
Now, you said you're a ranger. Now you don't live in a big city, right?
I'm sorry, I'm a rancher. I live in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and Albuquerque is about 4 hours from us. Okay. So, yeah, it's big enough. It's not. We're not.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're outside of you're outside of El Paso. I've been there. No, what I'm saying is, when I say the liberal side of the aisle will come after guns, it's in areas where they have huge gun problems. That's where most of the tough gun laws is. You go to New York, Chicago, because everybody's getting shot. Downstate Illinois, they don't support strong gun laws in downstate Illinois or, out in the middle of New York. It's in areas where people are constantly getting shot. That's why there's such a big difference on how Democrats view guns versus Republicans, because Republicans tend to be in more rural areas. They're not having major gun problems.
Well, we have a unique situation in Albuquerque. I don't know if you've ever seen.
I've been there.
Albuquerque has a huge crime problem right now.
Yeah.
And they have a huge problem with guns, etc. To the point that our governor actually, and I think she may have gone a tad too far, that she banned the use of concealed weapons for a while. For I think it was 2 months. It's now in the state Supreme Court, and they're going to have a hearing here in February talking about that. And so, yeah, what you're saying is true. The bigger cities are having the issues, but it does affect folks down the line, including myself, where we're not as big as Albuquerque, but we rely on our firearms, and we will have an issue with her limiting that without due process and so on and so forth. So I agree, but what I don't think that the Republican Party understands, or these far-right conservatives, is that you have a lot of Democrats that are willing to go, battle that battle with you. And the thing is, they don't even allow us that opportunity. The first thing that happens is when you say you're Democrat and you're talking to somebody that's a MAGA person, they lose their mind and start telling me that I don't go to church and I have sex with my kids and blah, 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 and the whole thing, and it's just, I say, okay, well, I hate to tell you this, and I had this discussion with a state legislator, and I said, well, I hate to tell you this, but the Democrats, rule the roost here in New Mexico, and until you figure out how to work with us, you're going to have a problem getting any legislation passed.
So why do you think MAGA in your opinion MAGA really just hates non-MAGA? Why do you think MAGA is like that in your opinion?
I don't know, and one of the biggest things that I see is, they're not only going after, the Democrats, but they talk down to non-MAGA Republicans. And it's gotten to the point. I listened to a lady the other day talk about, the abortion bill. And I will tell you personally that this Hunter Biden, Benghazi, he got $1,500 from somebody. All of that is crap. I think their biggest problem with getting Trump elected is what they did. I don't think they've realized that they pissed off a lot of Republican women by telling them, hey, we're taking control of your body. You can't get an abortion. Your children can't get an abortion. Nobody can. We're telling you what to do with your body. And I think that's a big problem for the Republican Party.
So are you in the camp that Biden is likely to beat Trump again as well?
I'm absolutely in the camp that as long as Trump runs for president, that you will not have a Republican president again. And it's proved because they did not vote for Trump in a lot of states, but they did down ballot vote for some Republican senators and Congress people, and they blew Trump out of there. And
so what you're basically saying, despite the favoritism and the love of Trump among Republicans, you're basically saying Trump is bad for the Republican Party.
Absolutely, and I really think that they're missing the mark when it comes to Republican women. I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of ranching families here. There's a very die-hard, far-right Republican MAGA family. The women themselves will sit there and talk up Trump. But I've talked to many that have come out of the poll places, and we're sitting around, and they said, I am not going to vote for somebody or for a party that's telling me what to do with my body. Believe me, that is a big problem for the Republican Party at this point.
All right, Moose. Hey, if you're around 10 months from now, come on back. I would certainly like to see how that turns out, but I do appreciate you coming through, Moose. Door is always open to you. All right, moving.
All right, partner, I appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming through. Moving it on, though. Wow. So Trump being bad for the Republican Party. What say you folks out there? Trump has some tremendous numbers in terms of favoritability, if I'm using the word right. There's a lot of Republicans that love Trump. If he is bad for the party, yikes. Only 6 months. Pretty politically correct. It's about 10 months. 10 months come February, first week in February. 10 months into the election. Elementary rules. Jane beat John 10-9 for class president. Done pop. I don't know what the hell you're saying. Yet Republicans are in for a rude awakening, says Moving Mountains. Wow. I've been hearing that Biden doesn't know where he's at, can't string together a sentence, cognitive decline, has dementia. You're telling me that guy's going to win, huh? Wow. Now, the midterms actually is exactly how Moving Mountains described. The Republicans got a rude awakening. What happened in the midterms, just this time last year, we were talking about how bad the midterms went, and the red wave was actually a ripple. So, wow, another loss. Yikes. Going back to the box, Republicans that voted for Liz Cheney probably won't vote for Trump. True. But would they vote for Biden? I don't know. It depends on how much you supported Liz Cheney and why you supported Liz Cheney. If you supported Liz Cheney because of her policies, she's 95% of the time in line with Trump. Why wouldn't you vote for Trump? If you voted for Liz Cheney because you believe they were railroading her, then that's a different story. Then, yeah, you're not going to vote for Trump at all because Liz Cheney's career was shortened for no good reason. Other than, as my last caller suggested, MAGA doesn't like non-MAGA Republicans. Ron DeSantis got a taste of it. Nikki Haley is getting it smeared all in her face. Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, Mitt Romney, John McCain, you name it. If you are a Republican but you're not in line with MAGA, or particularly if you're critical of MAGA, your days as a Republican politician are limited. Sonny Boy, yeah! Thank you for the hat and mustache. So I do agree with that. Liz Cheney could have literally rode off into the sunset as a Republican congressperson had she simply stated that Trump did not lose the 2020 election. It had nothing to do with the protest, insurrection, whatever you want to call it, on January 6th. But because she's on the other side of that, she's a traitor, she's gone. Mike Pence is another perfect example of that. Mike Pence was a respected politician among the Republican Party until January 5th. Now, some folks are saying, well, I didn't like him anyway. Yeah, fine, that's whatever. But he was a respected Republican politician until January 5th. The next day, whole career gone. In fact, he almost lost his neck. Going back to the box, Andy, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Get rid of electoral vote. Electoral vote should be popular vote only one. I don't agree with that. People who live in Wyoming, rural Montana, don't want to be governed like they live in New York City. Because the populations are centered in these big urban areas, people who live in rural areas would have no say-so. If you only go by the popular vote, the rural areas would have to basically bend to the rule of major cities. So I'm not a fan of it from that aspect. For some reason,
you should rule the many.
Say that again.
In essence, that's like saying the few should rule the many.
Okay. Yeah. Let me explain. And by the way, folks, I know the screen has changed. Something's wrong with the box. After our conversation, when she drops out, it'll come back to normal, but you will get the audio for now. In regards to the few ruling the many, America is essentially 50 different countries into one. Wyoming is its own state. Wyoming is its own country for the most part. They have the few, but they are a country. Why would they want to unite with America if they get no say-so in the process? Because New York or California is the many. So they're going to get all of the control, even though Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, all of these states are part of the union. They want to have equal say. That's why everybody gets 2 senators. You don't
I
let.
understand that.
Yeah.
The equity to me is a little off because I think North Dakota has 700 some thousand people and Birmingham's greater area is 1.1 million.
I get it. But
So I mean, I'm just saying, it's just because also 80% of the entire country lives on the East Coast. Did you know that?
yeah. Yes, I did. In New England area, yeah. I mean, but it goes back to what a lot of the West Coast, with the exception of California, is desert and
I
uninhabitable.
have like a really, really good question.
Sure.
If Trump wins, who's going to be his cabinet?
Well, I'm working on a video right now that Steve Bannon was being interviewed, and Steve Bannon stated we have 3,000 appointees on standby that do not need Senate approval. They have people lined up. They're going to try to do whatever they can to get rid of most of Washington. Steve Bannon pretty much said the quiet part out loud. I'm working on a video with that.
I hope they fare better than Roger Stone, who had to get a pardon, and Michael Flynn, who needed a pardon, and Paul Manafort, who needed a pardon, and Paul Manafort's business partner, Bill Gates, Rick Gates, who needed a pardon.
Well, if Trump gets reelected again, you won't even need it to get to a pardon. They're not even going to be tried with these crimes. I mean, if 3,000 people can do a lot of damage, I mean, they'll be appointed in positions all over the damn place. So even if they are doing something wrong, if you got a Flynn friendly government, Flynn ain't gonna get charged with anything.
Well, I mean, they keep saying that Trump's never done anything wrong and the Democrats have been after him all this time. But it occurred to me, Jeff Sessions, my senator, stepped down because, well, he had a smidgen of integrity and said, no, I met with Senator Kislyak. I can't lie. And then, so Trump fired him for that. And then Manafort laundered money and Roger Stone lied to Congress about meeting with the Russians. And now that red folder's gone with all the raw data from the Mueller report.
Yeah, well, real quick before we continue, in the comments yesterday says, what does Steve Bannon have to do with the running of our country? As I said earlier in the program, you got the Speaker of the House actually taking phone calls from Trump right now, admitting it on Laura Ingraham. Trump is not president. What does he have to do with running our country? These are the people they want. So if you have Congress, senators, and folks behind the scenes talking to Steve Bannon, what he has to do with running our country, he's changing hearts and minds in that direction. So hopefully that
He
answers
has a
that.
whole media empire, and he has the evangelical vote.
Yeah.
He has their entire ear.
Just like Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones, these folks have a lot of power. Rush Limbaugh was in that position before he passed away. They have a lot of power.
Michael Flynn still has a lot of power.
Yeah.
All these people. Yeah. So
So at the end of the day, do you see Biden defeating Trump again?
oh yeah.
There's not a lot of support for Biden, Andy. There's a lot for Trump.
Well, it's because we're not the hat and chewing crowd, and you know that. Second of all, we've been trying to spend all of our time educating others, so to what actual facts are, not what Fox News facts were. So we've all been a little busy. And third of all, have you heard Biden speak? He might have a stutter, but the man knows who he's running against.
Yeah.
He doesn't call Nikki Haley, when he needs to say Nancy Pelosi, he's been saying Nikki Haley. I mean, Nikki Haley's out there on there going, he's in mental decline. His own party, like, at least it's just the Republicans telling the Democrats Joe Biden's in decline. No. Now the Republicans are telling Trump he's in decline.
Well, I got to disagree with you. It's not the Republicans telling Trump he's in decline. It's Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley gonna mess around
It's more
in
than
the.
just Nikki Haley. Did you see his speech this weekend? Oh, it was bad. He couldn't even say climate. He said climb. For y'all that's climate. And I just broke out laughing.
So let me ask you.
It's sad to watch, and I should not laugh at a man that I know is deteriorating under the stress and the pressure, and
So let me ask you. Comparing. Let me ask you. Comparing Trump to Biden, you see Trump as more in cognitive decline than Biden?
Well, yeah, and Biden just had the highest S&P in history.
Oh.
More than Trump, more than anybody in history. They can say that we're in a recession and financial decline, but we're not.
Then if what you're saying, if what you're saying is true, and I think most economists actually agree with you, why is there no love for Biden's economy? Every economist is out there saying it's great.
Corporations are gouging the prices, and Republicans won't vote against it.
Yeah.
That's their own fault.
Right.
And so they complain about things that are capitalism and blame the government. They complain about things that are their state government and blame the federal government. And I don't think sometimes they know exactly who's to blame, so they just blame the person at the top. But reality is, he just signs the bills. Congress writes the laws.
What about the fact that Trump, after defeating Ron DeSantis, is now calling for unity? Trump is actually out there suggesting we come together. Maybe he is. I'm just telling you, that's what the man said. I'm glad they can't see me right now, but he did say that. He did say he's for unity.
Well, I mean, he said lots of things that I don't believe, but okay.
All right, fair enough. All right, I got to move it on, Andy. So at the end of the day, you think Biden's going to win. You obviously don't trust Trump at all. They talk to folks.
Well, look, I look at it this way. They keep saying no convictions, but he hasn't gone to court yet, people.
Yeah.
Can we at least be honest with the fact the man's facing all of these indictments and 4 major crimes, 4 felonies? Nixon had the good sense to step down and get pardoned and disappear.
Yeah.
Trump doesn't have that sense. And I have a question for you.
Sure.
Oh, I know they want you to drop me. Do you think that, because I don't really think Trump wanted to be president. Remember I told you in the beginning he started running way too early, and I thought he was just doing it to stay out of jail?
I don't know about
if
that.
If he could use his mental decline as a argument in court to stay out of jail, do you think he would do it? Because he still control Congress. Look how he's doing now.
Well, if he tries to use a mental defense, then he can't be president. You can't say you're insane, you can't go to jail, but you're okay to serve the country. He would have to step down.
No. I don't think he really wants to be president because he's got plenty of power right now. Look at Congress. They're jumping through hoops. So if he could get out of going to prison and still control Congress, not have any strings attached, you don't think he'd take that offer?
Depends on, I don't think Trump wants to go to jail. I don't think he's likely to go to jail, but if he was facing some genuine jail time, yeah, I believe he'd probably be willing to step down. I do
Just a
believe that.
thought.
Yeah, I do believe that. But I do got to move it on, Andy. I'm asking that you drop out because I don't even see the box there. So drop out.
I will. Thank you, Tim.
Hey, appreciate you coming on. Thank you as well, Andy. Looking in the comments, you guys let me know if the video comes back because that has been known to happen once the box starts acting up. Looking in the comments, Trump should step down. Why? Why would he step down right now? Where does Trump benefit at all by stepping down? He has a hell of a lot of support. A lot of folks on the right think he is significantly better than Biden. I see you folks are letting me know I'm back on, so I do appreciate that. But why would Trump step down right now? Because my last caller was stating, everybody knows that in terms of these charges that Trump is dealing with, he does have a hell of a lot to gain if he gets reelected. Look, my humble opinion, and I'll go back to the box, is Trump's facing 91 charges or something like that, 4 different jurisdictions. He's not going to beat all of that. Even if you think it's a witch hunt, you think they're just railroading the man or, whatever the case may be, it's all political. Maybe, maybe not. But at the end of the day, witch hunts can convict people. Just look up what witch hunt came from. People did die during the Salem witch trials or whatever the case that shit came from. So a witch hunt can be successful. A political hit job can be successful. Go ask Mike Pence. What happened to Mike Pence is a witch hunt. Mike Pence didn't do anything wrong. So I don't see Trump defeating 91 charges in 4 different jurisdictions. I don't believe he's going to get acquittals or charges dropped in all those cases. The goal, and I don't care if you love Trump or you hate Trump, we all agree on this. The goal is to delay those court cases, to delay them so that when it's time to come up for a verdict, he's president. When Trump becomes president, the goal is simple. Have Merrick Garland replaced, and whoever replaces Merrick Garland is going to be Trump-friendly because he's going to be appointed by Trump, and that person is going to appoint a Trump-friendly version of Jack Smith. Jack Smith will also lose his gig. And they will review the cases that went against Trump to begin with. And almost certainly the outcome will be this was a waste of time. It never should have came to fruition. The federal government hereby drops all charges against President Trump. That's the goal, is to delay it and put it under the rug and get rid of it. The goal is not to prove your innocence in court. Trump is not trying to do that. So if he wins the presidency, most of those cases are going to go away. We know that. Whether you support Trump or you hate him, we all know he's going to interfere with that stuff. He's not going to stand by and say, listen, I believe in letting the judicial system have its way, and I will honor whatever the judicial system, whatever conclusion they come up with. Trump's not going to say it. He's going to interfere with that shit. I think most folks, particularly his supporters, want him to do that. So at the end of the day, he has a hell of a lot to gain by running for president. There's no way in hell he's going to step down. That makes no sense. Looking at the comments, Trump is running to save his ass, not for making America great. He could possibly be trying to do both. He could possibly be trying to save his ass and make America great. We don't know. Prediction. He takes a deal to just go away. He will be found guilty in all 3 of the cases. If the cases come to a conclusion, it's I-999. If the cases come to a conclusion, I agree with you. He's going to be found guilty in a lot of that stuff. But if the cases are not concluded before he becomes president, they never will come to a conclusion because they're going to start tearing them apart from the inside out. As I stated, just getting rid of Jack Smith, getting rid of Merrick Garland, and replacing everybody from the inside out that are going to be Trump friendly and change their entire tune. So We'll look at it that way. Sheila 33 says, I wish he would just go away. That ain't gonna happen. And I would submit to you, even if President Trump lost his life, he would not just go away, because folks believe that there is basically a shadow group, deep state, elite, globalists, you name it, that are after Trump. If something were to happen to Trump, natural causes, heart attack, you name it, folks would believe that somebody took him out. Trump is not going to go away in our lifetime. I'm just going to tell you that. It'll be just like the Kennedy conspiracy. Trump is not going to have a smooth exit. Somebody is going to, look, somebody got to him. If Trump takes a deal and decides to step out of politics so that he don't face incarceration, the deep state got to him. George Soros paid somebody off, and there's no way Trump is going to peacefully exit. There is too many conspiracies, too many theories orbiting around Trump. Toss in a side order of Tucker Carlson and I can't even think, Alex Jones, and this is going to go into the stratosphere. Alex Jones is going to cash in on Trump's demise. Whenever Trump leaves this earth, Alex Jones is going to make money off of that. We know that. So I don't know how it could happen. Looking in the comments. Trump likes his salad tossed. Shit, I might want a salad tossed it myself. Are we talking ranch? We talking French dressing? I know what you're talking about. Leave that alone. Laugh out loud. Simpsons say he's gonna take a pop to the head. Not purple anymore. I hope not. I hope not. An assassination of the former president would be really bad for this country. I just stated to you that even if he dies of a heart attack, people are going to believe it's a hit job. Damn it, if it's an actual hit job, you think the Martin Luther King riots were bad? Oh my God, I don't want even to dream of that. If someone takes out, I think, I'm going to try to say this with as little controversy as possible. I think it would be more peaceful if Biden went out that way. But if Trump gets taken out that way, it's going to be real bad. Looking in the comments, 70 mil, so what? Biden beat that out. Fair enough. I can't believe you read that out. I don't run from comments, Joe Twiller. When I say we don't block, ban, or censor, understand we don't run from comments on this program. The whole purpose of this is that I believe if we can have civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, they can do the same shit in Washington. They're just not trying. So the program has always been about allowing the people to speak. Looking in the comments, we'll continue moving the program on with FSU. Appreciate you holding on. Is unity even something we should pursue at this point? FSU, good afternoon.
Absolutely, Tim. Hey, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. So can we get unity under Biden or under Trump? Is it possible?
I think it is. I'm getting a call. Hopefully it's not breaking up what I'm saying. Can you still
I can hear you. Okay.
Let me obviously do the obvious thing and cancel that call. When I look at it, I lean. I'm in the middle. I can lean either way. But when I look back at the most successful presidents on the Democratic side, particularly Clinton, him balancing the budget 4 times, he was pretty centric. And Obama was the exact same. He was centric. And Biden has a history, more so than any of the other candidates, of working across the aisle, working with both sides.
It's interesting you say that, because when Bill Clinton was balancing the budget, it was Biden and Newt Gingrich working together. So it's interesting you say that.
Yeah, this stuff, I know a lot of people get on the internet, and I saw an interesting quote. It was really quickly. They said back in high school, used to separate the slow kids, the regular kids, and the advanced kids. And on the internet today, everybody's kind of jumbled in together.
Oh, damn. That's a good point.
It's kind of funny. But what I'll say is, when you look at Biden, yeah, he's definitely has a history. Obviously, go back far enough. It's not a good history, but he has a history of working across the aisle with both. But what I'll say is, in each party, for different reasons, we have let the extreme kind of have a voice. On the Republican side, there are Republican ideologies that I align with, that I prefer. You know, fiscal responsibility is one of them. But you got on the Republican side, the MAGA is the minority, but they have the loudest voice, and they kind of control the party right now.
You think MAGA is the minority? If that's the case, why wouldn't Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley or one of these candidates beat Trump? You think MAGA among Republicans is the minority?
Yeah, I think they do that base. I think it is the minority. I don't think, as far as Republicans, MAGA versus traditional Republicans, I think the traditional Republicans just aren't as loud. But the point is this: the Republican Party as a whole is the minority. They won't win an election, and that's the other part of it. MAGA controls that party, and then you have the extreme part of the Democratic Party, Cortez, what's her name, and that extreme piece of it. Progressives, they don't really have control yet. They haven't secured control of the
Let me give you my take on that, and I agree with some of that, and I think that's the reason Bernie Sanders got ousted from running against Hillary Clinton. Folks say, well, they never gave Bernie Sanders a chance, and I do believe Bernie Sanders and President Trump have a lot in common, not from their policies, but from their standpoint. Bernie Sanders is not a traditional Democrat. He ran as a Democrat to get access to the DNC funds. Trump is not a traditional Republican. He ran as a Republican to get access to the RNC funds. And the Democrats, in 2016, when Hillary Clinton was around, the Democrats realized if Bernie Sanders get propelled to the top of the ticket, he's going to divide the party up. You're going to have the AOCs and Elizabeth Warrens going against the Nancy Pelosi's and the traditional Democrats. So they got rid of Bernie Sanders in terms of reaching the top of the ticket to avoid that. The Republicans did not do that. The Republicans did not get rid of Trump. And Trump, as you point out, there's a lot of problems with Trump with traditional Republicans.
You're absolutely correct. On the Democratic side, even the term socialist, like how the Democratic side is labeled as socialist, that spurred from that movement.
Bernie Sanders, yeah.
And again, kudos to the Democratic Party. They didn't let that group of people take hold of their platform. And MAGA did. And the problem with MAGA is they're really extreme, but they don't see themselves as extreme. These things that the Republican Party advocate for, like being against abortion, the majority of the country is for a woman's right to choose, but they don't care. They're okay being a minority, but making that type of decision. The majority of the country is not for closing the border. They just aren't. But a lot of people are, and then they're the minority though, and they're okay.
Wait a minute. You say the majority of the country is not for closing the border. Explain that.
I mean, guys, we look. It's a competing argument. If you close the border and don't have immigrants, it's going to affect the GDP. It's simple economics. Everybody is aware of that.
But let me interrupt to say this. If you close the border right now, I would submit to you, we have so many immigrants in this country, you wouldn't have to take any for a while. There's a lot of folks here. Do we go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying in regards to the border, I agree with you that there is some benefit to letting immigrants come in this country, but there has to be a certain faucet to it. You can't open up a fire hydrant, which is what's going on now. We've always had immigrants coming into this country, but not at the numbers we have now. You don't see a problem with that?
Sure. Listen, having control at the border and completely closing the border, which was what I was saying, is completely different. And we've go back 60, 70 years. We haven't attempted to close our border. And I'll ask you the question. Do you think the U.S. is more beneficial with letting immigrants come in and work, or they aren't with closing the border? Like if you had to choose, which would be your choice?
It's going to be a complicated answer because I want to say no, but let me explain why. I don't believe, because George W. Bush is the first person to say, we need immigrants because they'll do jobs no Americans want, like what you're talking about. I've said this on the program before. you could find a plumber in the middle of the night if your septic tank stopped up that would go in that septic tank and get knee deep in shit to open up your septic tank. They'll do that job because they get paid right. The fact is, I don't think there is a such thing as a job no American wants. The jobs that these folks are taking are jobs no American can survive off of. If the job's paid properly, you would suddenly find all sorts of Americans willing to do that job. So I don't think we need immigrants to come in the country and do these jobs. I think you need to pay the American employees properly, and you would get plenty of them. But I am a fan of people coming from other countries because I've lived overseas. But in terms of having them come here to do jobs, no. I mean, you're paying people $2 an hour to pick oranges and shit like that. No. I think that at the end of the day, maybe the price of some of these things need to go up so that you can pay people a proper salary. I don't think that salary should be so low that only a person from a foreign country is willing to do that job. That's where I think the problem is.
So I think it's competing arguments. Like I said, it's supply and demand. There is a demand for cheap labor.
Yeah, there will always be a demand for cheap labor.
Making $2 an hour,
Yeah.
you want to pay waitresses and waiters $2 an hour too. So it's just a simple supply and demand issue. If you want to close off the border and validate every working person, and not basically let, I hate to use the term illegal aliens or illegal citizens work. If you don't want to have any illegal citizens working and you want to close off the border, then guess what? The price of goods, and services are going to increase. Vegetables,
I'm fine with that. I am
going to increase.
I am 100% fine with that. But when I was a kid, my dad
Well,
purchased.
most Americans aren't, Tim.
Well, but hear me. But they used to be. Hold on, hang on. When I was a child, I remember my dad purchasing a 25-inch Zenith floor model TV in the late 1970s for like almost $500, which is a ton of money by today's standards. And I'm black, and we had one of those. When I was a kid, everybody had a TV. It wasn't made in China. We had RCA, we had Magnavox, we had Zenith. We actually could make our own shit. My first laptop cost $2,500. Yeah, you can buy them now for $200 or $300. Are we a better country because now we can buy a t-shirt for $5 when half of the country has no health care, has no outlook for the future because we're getting cheap shit now, but sacrificing ourselves in the future? My opinion is, yes, there are going to be some Americans that are not a fan with prices of goods and services going back up, but bringing this stuff down due to cheap Chinese labor has not benefited us at all. Now we're at the possibility of actually having to go to war with the Chinese because they've used our money from those jobs we sent overseas and strengthened their military. Show me where any of this has benefited us.
No, I agree. China being empowered is definitely, it hadn't been beneficial for the United States. But again, when I look at our borders, when I look at Canada and I look at Mexico, and we look at when you read the Monroe Doctrine, it's us against the rest of the world. And they've turned it into a narrative where it's the United States versus Mexico. Some Republicans want to take our military and go into Mexico searching for drugs. And what you're going to do is you're going to drive a wedge between the United States and Mexico. And you're going to drive them closer to, what if we drive them closer to Russia or China? Then what happens?
That could be a problem. I don't think at the end of the day that
what if China or Russia set up a military base in Mexico? Then we have a real problem.
Well, you see what happened when they tried to set up one in Cuba. That ain't gonna be allowed. So
Exactly.
that ain't
Go
gonna be
ahead.
allowed.
I'm cut you off.
I'm just gonna say there's too many Mexicans, Hispanics in this country that are now in politics to get that wedge in strong enough. You got a lot of states where you're starting to have mayors and all of that becoming Hispanic. I don't think you could successfully do that at this point. Too many, just like with African Americans. Too many folks are actually in positions of power to go back to certain eras. I mean, unless you really do some Civil War outrageous shit.
No, I guess I am with. We've gotten to a point where we view immigrants as a problem in this country. And here's the thing: the lion's share, 80%, 90% of people that come into this country want to work hard and earn a living. And they're not coming here to commit crime like some previous presidential candidates have said. These
100%
people are
agree.
coming here to work hard to provide a life for them and their families and even send money back home. And I don't think this country is worse for us having immigrants. I think it's better for it. Should we do a better job of documenting immigrants? Absolutely. But can we attribute all of our problems to people that's coming across the border in Mexico? Absolutely not. You look at crime, and it's a component of proximity. The people in the criminals in Iowa are people from Iowa. And that hasn't changed, and it won't change. If you're a single mom in Iowa, your threat is people you go to work with, you go to church with every day, and people that go to school with your kids. It's not somebody that's coming across the border.
Well
and
said.
that's something that I think people are disillusioned to believe.
All right, FSU. Well said. I do agree with that. Going back to the box. And by the way, listen, I'm absolutely a fan of folks coming to the country to experience America and things like that. If you want to come here and better your life, you fell in love with an American or something, because I migrated overseas. So I'm not going to be, and by the way, when I migrated to Australia, for those years I lived there, I stood in line hearing people telling me, you're coming to take our jobs and go back to your own country. I actually was told that. They didn't know I was American. The issue is, the haves don't like to be around the have-nots. They believe that you're going to come and take their resources, potentially be criminal and things like that. I actually witnessed lots of Australians, white Australians, their entire tone changed when I started speaking and they realized I was from America. Because now you suddenly realize I don't need your money. I'm doing all right where I came from. But you thought I was Somalian, Ghana, Nigerian, or something. Yeah, they have a different opinion of you. So the haves don't want have-nots around. Look at America. We have an issue with immigrants from poor countries. They're not going to say that to somebody coming from France, somebody coming from Japan, somebody coming from Germany. They're a lot more friendlier to them, because they don't feel like they're coming here to take resources. It's the people that do not have that have always faced ridicule. Now, I know some folks are going to go to racism and say that race has something to do with it. Yeah, and no. The Irish also had problems coming here. When they came here as very poor people, and I was going to let my last guest say that. We're getting to a point where we're starting to have a divided view of immigrants. We've always had that. We have always been unfriendly to immigrants. Unfortunately, the Native Americans never thought to do that to us. They might be in a better position today had they thought to do that. Nevertheless, it is your boy Tim. You know this is a lunch break live. As always, I appreciate the 89,000 likes. I almost got to 100,000. Catch you guys tomorrow. Handsome Liberal out. And YouTube, I appreciate you folks that are tuned in. The numbers are growing a little bit. America needs a new party that takes care of America first and last. Lady driver, you're never going to have that, because there are too many Americans that don't want to take care of Americans. I mean, I say this all the time. My right-wingers don't like it, but I see the Republican Party as the don't ask me for shit party. All of the things you say in regards to taking care of Americans, the Republican Party is going to be against it. There's not a single social program that Republicans tend to be in favor of. The Republican Party is about self-reliance, self-responsibility. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you fall on hard times, I found a way to pull myself up by my bootstraps and get myself back in a good position. You should too. Don't ask me for shit. That's what I say. I do view the Republican Party as a don't ask me for shit party. In terms of passing actual laws that help out poor people, Republicans tend to be against that. Most Republicans celebrate folks who actually went through hard times, and by hard work and determination, they got themselves back on their feet again. I didn't ask nobody for help. That's what is favored from Republicans. Don't ask me for shit. So when you say start taking care of Americans first, universal health care was overwhelmingly going to take care of Americans. Republicans are against that. If you gave tuition forgiveness, overwhelmingly that would benefit other Americans. They're not for that. Same thing when you look at welfare programs, food stamp programs, free lunch in schools. Republicans tend to be against all this stuff, even though it will primarily help out Americans. So when I say don't ask me for shit, I really mean it. Get yourself a job, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and stop expecting anybody else to do anything for you. But at the same time, I'm going to take care of Americans first. It doesn't resonate. And that's why I believe when folks suggest we need to stop sending money to the Ukraine and help out Americans first, it doesn't get a lot of attention on the left side of the aisle, because if you're against all social programs, even if we don't help the Ukraine out with a dime, you're not going to be for doing anything that's going to benefit my life. So that's my take on it, but I do have to tune out. I appreciate you folks for rolling with your boy. See you tomorrow.